Hello and welcome to episode 62 of the How to Survive podcast. In the background you'll hear some animalistic breathing from Joe there because we are talking about The Lobster.
Known for their hearty lungs.
Yeah, to the 2016 Humans into Animals movie. It's not a horror, but it's a sort of comedy drama with a dark twist. And it's some interesting chat. So if you haven't seen The Lobster, it is available on Netflix in the UK and I'm sure in other territories as well. Next week is Kill List. The film we're covering is Kill List, which is a great hitman-centric horror movie and well worth seeing. And if you've seen it and you've got any ideas on how to survive, the email address, as ever, is howtosurviveshow@gmail.com, or you can get in touch with us on Twitter. The handle is @howtosurvivepod. On with the show.
Have you ever been on your own before?
No, never.
Your last relationship lasted how many years?
Around 12.
Sexual preference?
Women. Is there a bisexual option available?
No, sir, this option is no longer available. And the dog?
My brother, he was here a couple of years ago, but he didn't make it.
Did you read the leaflet?
Yes, I did.
As you understand from your brother's experience, if you fail to fall in love with someone during your stay here, you'll turn into an animal.
It's no coincidence that the targets are shaped like single people and not couples.
Hello and welcome to episode 62 of the How to Survive podcast. This week we are covering The Lobster. Have we gone mad? It's not a horror film or a thriller or a shit film about aliens. No, we just decided to do a film that we might like, one that we might like to watch.
With some substance, with some artistic merit.
Yeah, so it's The Lobster from 2015, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, and it was nominated for the Palme d'Or, Joe. And of course, Joe is here to discuss the film with me. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, yeah. I'm enthused and energised about the opportunity to talk about an interesting film.
Yep. And it's good. It's got a survival element as well. Of course, we will talk about how we'd survive in The Lobster.
Yeah.
But first, we'll throw on with a quick recap of the plot.
Yeah, and so obviously, if you haven't seen it, as we've said 100 times now, it's on Netflix. Go watch it. It is a very interesting film and one I think is worth watching. And so, yeah, we are now into spoiler territory. David, played by Colin Farrell, discovers his wife is leaving him for another man and is escorted to a hotel. The manager reveals that singles have 45 days to find a partner or they'll be transformed into an animal. David is accompanied by a dog who was previously his human brother. The hotel's other inhabitants are all either single or couples who have gotten together at the hotel. Relationships require partners to have a distinguishing trait in common, for example, a limp or a nice smile. One man fakes frequent nosebleeds in order to establish a relationship with another woman with the same problem. Residents can extend their deadline by tranquilizing single people in the forest. Each captured loner earns them a day. One resident, known as Heartless Woman, feels no emotions and is an expert hunter, and so has hundreds of days left. David fakes a similar emotional apathy and they become a couple. However, Heartless Woman suspects David is lying and so kicks his dog brother to death to elicit an emotional response, which it does. He starts crying. The Heartless Woman tries to drag David to the hotel manager to turn him in, but David gains the upper hand and, after tranquilizing her, takes her to the transformation room where she is transformed into an unnamed animal. David escapes into the woods and joins the loners. In contrast to the hotel, they forbid any romance, with mouth mutilation as punishment for kissing. There's also an oblique reference to, they call that the red kiss, because they cut your lips with razor blades.
Yeah.
And there's an oblique reference to something called red intercourse, which is the punishment for sex. And it's not gone into exactly what that entails, but I think we can all imagine. Yeah. David, who is nearsighted, meets another nearsighted woman and they develop a secret romance, planning to run away together to the city, a place where being single is strictly policed. The leader of the loners finds the nearsighted woman's journal and reads about their plans to escape. In response, she tricks the nearsighted woman into having an operation, ostensibly to fix her eyesight, but instead leaving her completely blind. Despite the fact they now have nothing in common, David resolves to escape with his now blind love interest. He bludgeons and ties up the loner leader and leaves her to be eaten by dogs. David and the blind woman escape to the city and stop at a restaurant. Seeking to re-establish commonality, David prepares to blind himself with a steak knife. And we are left at the end of the film with the question of whether or not David does, in fact, blind himself in order to continue to have a relationship with this woman that he otherwise has nothing in common with. And that's how The Lobster ends.
Yeah, without him being turned into the lobster.
Yeah. So I think this is one of the most interesting films that we've covered.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a bit of a departure. I'd be interested to know our audience, if they've watched it, what do they think? Because obviously it's not a horror.
No.
It's not our usual fare. But I think it's fair to say that there is a heavy dose of survival element to the film.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And there'll be plenty of that to discuss when we come to talk about How to Survive. And obviously it'll be interesting talking about it, in a sort of very different way, because it's all about, can you find a lover? But Joe, what did you make of The Lobster?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty fun. It's uncomfortable watching in places.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're a spoilerific podcast.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where one woman, played by Ashley Jensen, who was in Extras and Ugly Betty.
Yeah. She's called Biscuit Loving Woman.
Is that her character's
Yeah, that's
name?
her character's name, and she's shown to be a sort of tragic and desperate woman, basically.
Yeah. She throws herself out of a window.
Yeah,
and
and she doesn't want to be turned into an animal.
Yeah, but she doesn't jump from a high enough window, basically, and she's just screaming and oh my goodness,
broken on the ground. Yeah.
And then that's when David decides to chat up Heartless Woman.
Yeah,
and he's like, I wish she'd shut up. I might go for some shut eye.
Yeah, I need to have a sleep, and her screaming's really going to distract me.
Yeah, I mean, the way they talk to each other in general, is you have to tune your ear in a bit to it, don't you? Because it struck me initially as just annoying,
right?
But then when I came to a kind of realization that, and I don't know if it's intentional, but they all seem to have autistic spectrum disorder,
right?
And that made it a lot more palatable,
right?
When you think that they haven't got any social skills, and they've come to this place to basically learn them. Yeah,
it certainly feels that way. There's sort of educational classes that extol the benefits of being in
a relationship,
and it's a man. You see a man choking on his food when he's alone, and he dies, and then they do it again, but he's got a woman there, and she performs the Heimlich maneuver, and he survives. Yeah, it's just it's very weird, stilted sort of.
I guess what it's trying to do is to make fun of the rituals we go through in order to start a relationship.
Yeah.
So dating and flirting and all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
And when they have to do it in order to survive, no one can do it. Yeah. But then when they're not allowed to do it, it comes naturally to them.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Well, it reminded me of Brave New World or 1984, those sorts of, long tradition of dystopia fiction. And it also reminded me of Black Mirror.
Right, exactly.
Which is, I'm sure people have seen it, the TV show. And, obviously in Black Mirror, it's sort of here's the real world, but with one thing changed. And it's sort of a bit like that. It's just the dating system or relationship, marriage system is just the one thing that's been altered. But in this very twisted sort of way.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just really interesting. And it's very dark as well. The biscuit loving woman, as we mentioned, openly talking about she basically tries to bribe David into getting into a relationship with her through promising sexual favors, and then when that doesn't work, she says I might just kill myself. Yeah. And there's a voiceover that plays. Yeah. And it's David looked out the window and pretended that he didn't hear her. It's so sort of, it's got a really strange, dark sense of humor. But I think it is a genuinely interesting, world that it's painting. And it's what would have led to this society? Some sort of theocratic government that is really intense about marriage or like relationships, but like, or like a high divorce rate that was blamed for like moral degradation or so.
It does seem like they're all disordered though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because like everything they say is very matter of fact. And there's a cold logic to everything that happens.
Yeah.
So that when he gets there and he's being given like the typical like dating questions, like how old are you? And he says, would you like a female or a male?
Yeah. Would you like
like
heterosexual or gay?
Yeah.
Homosexual.
Are you heterosexual or homosexual?
Yeah.
And he says,
I had one homosexual experience in the past, in college. Is there a bisexual option available?
No, sir, this option is no longer available since about last summer due to several operational problems. I'm afraid you have to decide right now if you want to be registered as a homosexual or a heterosexual.
I think I should be registered as a heterosexual.
Any children, sir?
No.
It's like in 100 years, you get all those bots that like message people on dating websites. It's like they'll have
Developed
become
AI,
their own society, like formed their own society. Because like the whole thing about you have to have one, like they all have to stand up and basically say what their defining characteristic is. So one man says, I got bitten by a wolf on my leg when I was a child, and so I've got a limp. And his wife died like 3 days ago, and she also had a limp. And it's like, you have to find a partner who's got a limp, or like find a partner who's got a nice smile, or find a partner who's emotionless.
and even the leader of the loners, her parents, the characters visit the parents frequently.
Yeah.
And they have in common the fact that they're both very good guitarists.
Yeah. It's bizarre. Like it's a really strange, but it's like you totally buy into the fact that this is like a completely accepted way of life for them. Like even it's not, even though it's the first sort of society-wide dystopia thing that we've come up against, like a societal survival situation.
Yeah.
Like we've got to rail against society's norms in this film. Like despite that situation, it seems everyone's totally accepting of it. Like even the rebellion group, which are the loners, they're just against relationships unilaterally, as opposed to being like against the system or like the situation itself.
Just one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. And that is like a funny irony when he finally meets the loners and they're like, well, you can't have any romance at all. And you've got to dig your own grave because like
We're not going to do it for you.
Yeah, because if you don't do it, and isn't it, you've got to try and die as close to your grave as possible because otherwise dogs might eat you.
Yeah. So we'll throw some dirt on you, but that's all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just this really bizarre, surreal.
Where's it? It's not meant to be set anywhere, is it? It's just like this generic European city.
Yeah, well, it's filmed in Ireland, and the city that you see in the film is Dublin.
Right. But the accents, they all have a French.
Yeah, well, it's French. Colin Farrell's Irish. There's a few other Irish actors.
Ashley Jensen's Scottish.
Yeah. It sort of doesn't... Yeah,
then you've
it's
got John
not-
C. Reilly, who's American.
Yeah. It's an interesting cast as well, isn't it? It's like quite
Some big
eclectic.
names.
Yeah. And then also Keith from The Office.
Yeah.
So this is an early sort of how to survive discussion.
Okay.
But obviously much of the film is about... But obviously the aim is to not be turned into an animal.
Yeah.
And so, obviously when we're talking about how to survive, maybe we'd be like, discussing that's the end game that you're trying to avoid. But maybe...
Is it really not surviving? Because
that's the thing.
You appear to live on in that animal.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So in that regard, are there better animals than others? I mean, obviously there are, but like what would be the good animal to pick? The main character picks a lobster, obviously, which is where the title of the film comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Because lobsters live for over 100 years. Are blue-blooded like aristocrats. And stay fertile all their lives. I also like the sea. Very much. I water ski and swim quite well since I was a teenager.
I must congratulate you. The first thing most people think of is a dog, which is why the world is full of dogs. Very few people choose an unusual animal, which is why they are endangered. A lobster is an excellent choice.
Yeah, so, and like you see other characters like there's a woman who's got really nice hair,
Yeah.
and then she gets turned into like a Shetland pony
with the same hair,
like with a lovely mane instead.
That's
It's-
really funny.
Yeah. And then you see sort of like anachronistic animals wandering around in the background. Occasionally, you see a camel at one point walking through the woods.
flamingo.
Yeah, it's really, I do like that a lot. But yeah, are there any animals in particular that you think would be better than others?
Well, if we're here to talk about survival,
Yeah.
so on that basis, I would want to be an Aldabra,
Right.
an Aldabra giant tortoise,
Okay.
which is the oldest living animal.
Okay.
Died at the age of 255.
Interesting.
Um,
That's old.
if not, I'd like to be a radiated tortoise, which died at the age of 188.
Okay. Well, I've got one that can trump that.
Go on.
The bowhead whale,
All right.
which has been known to live up to 211 years.
No, not bad. Not bad.
Yeah. I mean, there's also, there's other creatures like cockroaches,
Yeah,
who are obviously very hardy, famously,
they are.
going to be the only thing that survives the eventual nuclear holocaust.
There are some sponges, Chris.
Right.
If sponges count as animals, near Antarctica, are thought to be 10 millennia old.
Right. Okay.
It's 10,000
Well,
years.
if you can have sponges, could you have? I was wondering, could you get turned into a tree, like a giant redwood?
Yeah, I think sponges have nervous systems, don't they?
Okay. Well, and so that's where like this is getting into a sort of philosophical debate.
Yeah,
What constitutes
as
animal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Plant, mineral.
Or there's one specimen,
Okay.
Ming,
Right.
of the Icelandic cyprine, Arctica icelandica,
Right.
also known as an ocean quahog, which is a mollusk,
Right.
which has been found to live to 507 years.
Okay. But then if you're surviving, presumably your personality, your mind carries on into the animal. Like, would you want to spend 500 years? Is it not about quality of life?
Fair point.
I would suggest that a bowhead whale, or another idea that I jotted down, a blue whale, which obviously also has huge lifespans, they've got the freedom of the ocean to explore, Joe.
True.
And all, many, many years in which to do it. They could find a mate. Let's not forget.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I personally, I'm not a massive traveller. I go on holiday sometimes, but it's travelling, like travelling for the sake of it. Not for me.
No, I'd rather sit at home for 500 years.
Well, not at home. I go for a walk now and then. I think I'd be a cat. I'd make a good cat.
Cats.
I often think, I've got cats. I often look at them and think, mate, you got it easy.
Yeah.
They literally do what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. Dog is apparently, as it said in the film, the most popular one.
Yeah. But I don't agree with that because you're still kind of dependent as a dog. Cats can just literally do anything they want. They can't drive a car, but they can.
Yeah.
They're forced into their own, aren't they?
Do you think it's quite a dangerous gamble? It's almost like you've got to make sure you don't get turned into an animal on the same day as someone who's getting turned into a lion or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
If don't be an antelope in the lion.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, well, when your mate gets turned into a tiger and you're a deer or whatever, that's bad news for you.
It is, but I wonder. Flamingo seems a bit shit. In like the Irish woods.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing as well. Camel. Like, do they not? It doesn't seem very like conservationalist. They just dump these people wherever they get transformed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hard one, isn't it? What would you be genuinely if it was like they're taking you down to the transplant room now? What are you going to be?
Well, I think a cat's a good choice, but then you want to be a house cat, don't you? And then I don't know if there's a provision which exists, like the only pet we see in the film
Is his brother.
And obviously he's got a burden of responsibility to him.
Fair point. So you didn't answer the question. You've
Well, I said I would be a cat, but it would be conditional, I think.
cat with a butt.
Yeah. Or maybe, maybe a bird or something.
Yeah.
Good. Big
Fair
bird
enough.
of prey.
Maybe we'll come back to this when we talk about how to survive.
Yeah.
I have a few questions about the film, which I'm pretty sure you can't answer. So it's more just to talk around it.
Okay.
But in the hotel, right? Is it there for everyone on Earth? Do you have to go there, or is it a voluntary thing?
Well, it's got a sort of like existential purgatorial feel to it, doesn't it? Like the as you said, it's sort of generic European.
Yeah.
And you don't know really. There is the city, the hotel, the woods. We don't see any other locations in the world. However, they do. David mentions being able to speak German, which would imply the existence of Germany.
At least.
And
they do have accents as well.
Yeah, they've got French accents, American accents, as you said. They listen to various types of music, like European techno and Nick Cave. So that would imply the existence of Central Europe and Australia. So it's difficult to know, isn't it?
It is hard. But they all seem pretty well resigned to their fate, don't they? So do you think that's just because that's like...
It's just society, isn't it? It's like they're a people in dire need of a uprising.
Yeah.
Because it's not a sort of... doesn't appear to be a sort of natural... It's not a curse put upon them. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, they can only...
It's just how they do things around here. Sort of
exactly,
thing.
Yeah. That's how it's always been done. Sort of,
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. Well, with that in mind, Chris... If we were to find ourselves living in this proto-European dystopia, what would you do to survive?
Well, I got quite deep into my research on this one, Joe. So an obvious way to survive, as we see, is because there's several characters who either through tragedy or illness or whatever have lost their partners. Okay. The partners have died and they've found themselves single.
Yep.
And then they're in trouble because it means that they need to find a new partner within 45 days.
Right, yeah.
And imagine, we've both been in relationships for what you'd say is a long time.
Yeah.
And the idea of being single now is a daunting one because the dating world has changed for us quite significantly.
Exactly, yeah.
But
when we used to date, we used to be down the dance halls.
Yeah, exactly.
Go courting
down the discotheque, and now none of it. So basically, my first idea, which I think is an obvious but fair one, is to choose a partner based on their likelihood to live a long life.
You don't be back here next year, do you?
No, exactly. So let's iron out some characteristics of long-living people. Okay, so the top 10 verified oldest people ever are all women.
Really?
Yeah. And on top of that, the life expectancies of almost all developed countries are higher for women. Therefore, it makes sense to prioritize a female mate. And you do get the option. Yep. We said.
You can be a homosexual, yeah.
Yeah, if you're a woman or whatever. And of the top 10 oldest people ever, 4 of them are American, 2 are European, 1 is French and 1 is Italian.
USA?
Yep.
Wow.
And 1 each of Canadian, Japanese, Ecuadorian, and Jamaican origin, which would suggest a bias towards America or Western Europe as good places to search for a mate. But wait, Joe, the life expectancy for women is highest in Japan.
Right.
Which is 86.8. And that probably fits stereotypes. If people think of oldest living people. Quite often when you see that in the news of people living to 120 or whatever it is, people live in Japanese mountain villages and all that sort of thing. So the possibility that you raised your eyebrows at American and French, Italian, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
It might be due to better record keeping because those are the verified oldest people.
That's true. It could be somewhere right out in Siberia,
exactly,
in 1700s or something.
Yeah, but in terms of modern day life expectancy for women, because we've already narrowed it down to women, and it is consistently women that live longer than men. Bloody women, eh? Japan, it's 86.8 years. Singapore is second with 86.1.
Wow.
Third is Spain with 85.5. Fourth is Republic of Korea. The women there live or expected to live until they're 85.5. And France comes in fifth to round up the top 5 with 85.4.
Wow.
And obviously that's in life expectancy. There will be people who live a lot less, and people who live a lot more. And this analysis, this sort of statistical analysis that I've gone through, assumes that in the world of the film, all the countries in the world follow the same doctrine.
Yeah.
But if this isn't the case, as we've said, then move to another country.
Yeah.
David speaks German, which implies, as we said,
There is a
Germany
Germany,
exists. Yeah. Why not move to Germany? But yeah, so basically, overall, I think it's the best idea is to choose your partner based on their the statistical likelihood of them living a long life. And so a Japanese woman, preferably one who lives in Japan.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because let's not forget, it's not a inherent racial thing.
No,
it's not
genetic,
Japanese women who live longest.
It's contextual.
It's women in Japan live longest.
Well, could a German woman move to Japan?
Well, then you'd be laughing, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or a woman who's 40% American, 20% European, and then 10% each of Canadian, Japanese, Ecuadorian, and Jamaican, and you move with them to Japan and they speak German.
Presumably, all those genes other than Japanese would just bring down the average, wouldn't they?
Well,
one is the purest Japanese you can find.
Well, yeah, but it's not necessarily racial. That's what I mean. It's not necessarily, Japanese people. It's people who live in Japan. So the life expectancy of women who live in Japan is 86.8. But it might not necessarily be...
Because they're Japanese.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because it could be cultural. Yeah. It could be their diet. They don't eat dairy, typically. Or, there's a very low consumption of dairy in Japan and Far East Asia.
You've done a lot of research on Japan.
Listen, I'm thinking we move... Find ourselves some hot Japanese geishas.
Geishas?
And start How to Survive Tokyo.
To survive Asia Pac.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's my statistical analysis of who to pick.
Well, I like it. I mean...
It's hard to argue with the numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You should go on Freakonomics and talk about this.
Yeah.
I think they definitely do an episode on this. I can't really take it any further than that. You've done it. The numbers are there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Japanese women. Yeah.
Women in Japan.
Women in Japan. So what defines an animal? We don't have any specific rules on this, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the film doesn't say, "Oh, you can't be a newt."
No.
Or you can't be
Probably,
a snake.
I'd imagine humans are out of bounds.
Why?
Because the inherent punishment for not finding a partner is a loss of humanity. It's implied.
You got a pen? Well, I was going to say, Chris, become a human.
Right. Well, just say I'd like to be David, a nearsighted human from Belfast.
Why can't you though? Why can't you be a human? I mean, I take it it's the punishment, but why couldn't you be another human?
Well, yeah, I mean, are we animals? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll Google it right now.
Right.
Humans may not use tools and express emotions exactly like other animals, but that doesn't exempt us from animal status. I think you might have... that's from... Yes, humans are animals, so just get over yourself, Homo sapiens, which is an article on... Gizmodo.com, which is the definitive source for checking animal-humanity relations.
Well, thanks, Gizmodo, for proving that there was a simple way out of this whole mess.
But then, would you start off as a baby?
I don't know. Is that pony a baby?
But no. Well, no, that's true. Yeah, we see like adult animals. So you'd just be... How'd it work though? Would you just be a new... human, get a new body every 45 days.
Be a woman,
but then
Japanese woman.
If you get turned into a man, and then does the 45-day timer apply?
Interesting,
because you've gone through the animal transformation process, but you're still a human.
Well, yeah, but you've got another 45 days.
Yeah, so
you could be upgrading your body. It'd be
every 45 days, you just get a new body.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I'd imagine in the film, in the context of the film, that's not allowed. But there's nothing in the film that I can remember where they say, "Oh, you can't just be a man."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Well,
It's
there
a
you are.
Fair point. You've thought your way out of the cul-de-sac the film put you
The
in.
cold logic of the film used against it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of cold logic, Joe, Heartless Woman is one of the more memorable characters in the movie.
She certainly is.
And you'd agree that the hotel seems quite luxurious. They've got pools, jacuzzis, free food, golf, grounds in which you can take long walks. And as shown by Heartless Woman, if you're good enough at hunting, you can stay there indefinitely.
Yep.
Because, we see her bringing back 4 loners a night on average, and so she's got something like 100 and something days left. So if she can just carry on that indefinitely.
Pace, yeah.
Yeah. She could even just do one hunt if she could get 4 people every 3 days.
Yeah.
And she'd still be there for infinite amount of time. So, yeah, basically, I would suggest that you could stay there indefinitely with all your needs catered for if you're a good enough hunter. I know what you're saying, Joe, that you may not be a good hunter. David certainly isn't a good hunter. He misses with all his shots. We see other characters sort of falling over, running around in the woods, trying to chase after the loners. But 45 days, Joe, is a long time. And with the right application...
You can get good at it, couldn't you?
Exactly. You can get very good at hunting. And people spend a lot of time trying to woo their partners.
Yeah.
That's time that you could be spending honing your
Hunting
rifle skills.
Yeah.
And there's even an instructor there.
To help you.
Yeah. So, if you practice and practice 45 days, hopefully, you could at least get 1 loner every time. We see them kiting back a good number every time they go out.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not like they're in short supply, or at least it doesn't appear to be. And so, basically, I would suggest that you get good enough at hunting so you could ape the achievements of Heartless Woman and stay there indefinitely.
I mean, it wouldn't work forever because you would eventually become old, wouldn't you? And
yeah, but then you may grow tired of life anyway.
Yeah,
and then you could transform into a young man, as you said.
Yeah,
yeah,
or a canary.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just be good at hunting as you focus instead of getting a date on hunting.
Exactly. Yeah,
and you can stay there forever
in a luxurious hotel.
True, yeah.
Aside from the sort of weird
sexual torment.
Yeah.
Strange part of the film. Fair enough, though.
Have you had any other ideas?
Yeah, a couple more. I want to introduce you, Chris, to an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And this, we talked earlier about the best animal for living longest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this animal here may well be the best animal for survival.
Yeah.
Right? You mentioned your cockroaches. I spit on your cockroaches, Chris. Because I would be a tardigrade.
Right.
Familiar with tardigrades?
No.
Also known as water bears or moss piglets. They are water-dwelling, 8-legged, segmented micro-animals.
Yeah.
Now, they can survive in temperatures up to 151 degrees centigrade.
Right.
Which, is above boiling.
Yeah.
They can live for up to 30 years at minus 20 degrees centigrade.
Okay.
And a few days at minus 200 degrees centigrade.
Okay.
And even they can even live as low as minus 272 degrees centigrade. They can withstand extremely low pressure, like a vacuum, but also very high pressures, more than 1,200 times atmospheric pressure.
Right.
The longest that living tardigrades have been shown to survive in a dry state is nearly 10 years, although there is one report of leg movement not generally considered survival in a 120-year-old specimen.
Right.
Tardigrades can withstand 1,000 times more radiation than other animals. One factor is their ability to efficiently repair damage to their DNA resulting from long-term exposure.
Right.
Tardigrades are reported to undergo chembiosis, a cryptobiotic response to high levels of environmental toxins. And they can even live, Chris, in outer space.
Wow. So that's basically the most hardy animal that you could find.
Yes.
Is it an animal?
It's a micro animal, yeah.
Is it actually defined as a micro animal?
It says, this is from Wikipedia.
Okay.
And it
the
says,
font of all knowledge.
yeah, it says micro animal.
Okay.
So I'm taking that.
Fair enough. At some point, do you think quality of life has to come into it?
Well, living in a vacuum of space, Chris. What's wrong with that?
I mean, like ability to survive and quantity of life are possibly there, debatably there. Is it worth it?
What, becoming a tardigrade?
Yeah. Would you pick tardigrade?
Would
Would you rather live for 10 years as a cat or, 30 years as a tardigrade?
We're here to answer a simple algorithm,
I know,
which is
but
how to survive.
I'm asking you now.
You're asking me, the man.
Yeah. You'd want to be a cat.
I would be a tardigrade every time. I've got pet tardigrades, Chris, and I often see them playing in their dried moss.
Yeah.
And I think to myself,
at minus 270 degrees.
I think that's the life for me.
Yeah.
Then you're not beholden to anyone, are you? As a tardigrade, you can come and go as you please. Have a nap.
Yeah. Much like a cat.
Yeah, you can sit on someone's lap and be stroked.
All right, well, it's the perfect life then.
Yeah.
There's no arguing with it.
Moss piglets.
Yeah.
Tardigrades. They're very... I encourage you to, have a look at a tardigrade online. They're very cute animals.
Yeah.
They are, like, more cuddly than any of those silly old cats.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, in terms of survival, that's definitely a good suggestion. If you're going to be turned into something.
Yeah, tardigrade. I don't know if it'd work, though, because can you put your body... I mean, yeah, it doesn't...
It's outside of the bounds of what we know.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Well, obviously, a key point in the film is that they have to have a matching key character trait.
Yeah.
And, these might be a limp, short-sightedness, a lisp, a fondness for biscuits, heartlessness, nosebleeds. These are all examples.
What's your one trait you share with your girlfriend?
We both love me. So here's my suggestion, Joe, is that make sure your key character trait is as generic and applicable as possible. So what I've done is taken some common questions that you might find on dating websites.
Right.
And I've given them the generic treatment. Okay, so this is an attempt to make the most generic person possible.
Okay, sure.
With the hope being that it will widen the search pool for potential partners.
I understand. Yeah. So you're casting as wide a net as possible.
Exactly. So one of the questions is things you like. So you list the things you like.
Right.
So I've gone for food.
Yep.
Going to the cinema.
Yeah.
Going outside.
Yeah.
Meeting friends, quiet night in. See, all these things they're just things that are impossible to disagree with.
Not everyone likes the cinema.
Yeah, I thought that as I said it, but
that's a deal breaker for you anyway, is it?
Well, no, but I mean, like, even so, that's 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Like, no one can disagree with meeting friends.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, there's no one who doesn't like Friends. Next one is more specific.
Yeah.
It's favourite films.
Okay.
So I've gone for what, in my experience, and you may agree with me, are the most generic favourite films.
Can I guess one?
Go on.
Shawshank Redemption.
That is number 1.
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption.
Forrest Gump.
Fight Club.
Yeah.
Anchorman.
Yeah.
The Hangover.
Yeah.
Titanic.
Titanic, yeah, fair enough.
Yep. So those are the favourite films that you want to pick if you're trying to tailor your dating profile to as many people as possible. Next, favourite books.
Yeah.
And of course, on these ones, it's famous for people putting the classics, isn't it?
Right.
Without whether or not they've actually read them.
Right, okay.
But what I've done here, Joe, is I've gone through the applied texts for English GCSE.
Right, yeah.
To broaden the scope for possibility that people have read the same book.
Okay.
So the books are Catcher in the Rye.
Yep.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yep.
Animal Farm.
Yep.
Pride and Prejudice.
Good.
Of Mice and Men.
Yeah, read all those at school.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're perfect for each other.
Yeah.
6 things I could never live without. Water.
Yeah.
Air.
Yep.
Food.
like shelter.
Shelter.
Yeah.
My friends.
Yeah.
My iPhone.
All right. Nice little. I mean, that's only like 40% market share or something. So over than that.
Well, I wonder what the market share is among people who use dating apps.
Well, that's a good point. Further research is needed.
Yeah. So the most generic thing that I could think for this final question for a dating website, and I think you'll agree that this is a 100% hit rate.
Right.
The most private thing I'm willing to admit that I'm using a dating website.
Yeah.
And so that's how you find a generic. That's how you maximize the possibility of finding a partner.
Do you not think that might alienate people?
Why?
Because they're going to feel that you're like down on them for using it as well.
No. I'm all things to all men and women. I think basically, if anyone's out there looking for a partner and you haven't had much luck on the old dating website,
I will say that I don't know how many women would say Fight Club was their favourite movie.
I think it's one of those COD philosophy films though that people love. It's a bit like The Shawshank Redemption, isn't it? Maybe Forrest Gump would have been a better bet. It's a bit more family friendly, isn't it?
Forrest Gump, yeah. Lion King,
Toy Story. Yeah. But I didn't want to resort to children's films because they're sort of easy, aren't they? They're sort of shorthand.
Yeah. Fair enough. I like it. I like it. So essentially, you're coding it so that you.
I'm trying to game dating websites by making me appealing to the broadest range of people, or making me share characteristics with the largest subset of people as possible.
I mean, you do. If it was a real dating website, you'd never get any interest in it.
No.
It's too basic.
But we're talking about dating in the world of the Lobster.
It doesn't seem to be like. No one ever says my favourite trait about myself is that I like Forrest Gump. Though.
No, but it seems to be things like, I like food.
I have a nice smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could never live without air.
I remember hearing an interview with someone who actually owns a dating app. And they said one of the most common things people write is, I love going for walks on the beach.
Yeah.
They said, that's such a meaningless thing to say. It's like,
like at any time?
When do you ever go for a walk on the beach?
Yeah.
Everyone likes walks on the beach. It's such a stupid thing to say.
Yeah. Well, that was basically my thinking with, things like meeting friends.
Yeah.
Eating food. Like of course, but who doesn't like eating a nice meal? That's one of the most universally enjoyable things. Like no one goes, I fucking hate having a nice bit of food prepared for me.
I bloody hate eating nice food. My final idea on survival, and this is very much it would only work in the world of the lobster, but it's perfectly tailored to help you survive and not be turned into an animal, assuming that that's something you're keen to avoid on a survival basis. This comes from the Express, Daily Express.
Okay.
Online version, express.co.uk. It's an article written by Laura Mowat, if I get that wrong. Apologies. Science figures out how to make someone fall in love with you.
Okay.
A scientist has revealed the real reasons why someone falls in love with you. This was published in May this year.
Right.
A psychotherapist and author who claims he can help you find your perfect partner has said that maintaining eye contact is one of the reasons how you can get someone to fall in love with you.
Okay.
So eye contact, just
maintain eye contact.
Never
constantly.
break eye contact.
Right.
I mean, personally, I feel there's a tipping point.
Yeah.
Right?
How much is too much?
Yeah. Because if they're like, oh, I'm off to bed now, and you're like, okay.
Staring at them as they walk upstairs.
Yeah, and you follow after them, and they're in bed, and like they wake up in the middle of the night, and you just stare, you gaze boring into their corners.
They arrive on the first date.
Yeah,
and you stare at them.
Yeah,
just don't even they go to the toilet, and you walk in front of them, walking backwards to the toilet because you can't break eye contact.
Yeah,
ever.
But they'll love you all the more for it. Mr. Gary Newman, I think he's the scientist, not Gary Newman,
musician.
Yeah. Mr. Gary Newman says, "Here in my car, I feel safest of all." Mr. Gary Newman said, "Intimacy increases between people who look away less."
Right.
Again, I feel like there must be a limit. being a good listener is also a key to making someone fall in love with you.
Okay.
And if you're a good listener, you will leave a 5-star review for this podcast.
If you love us, then...
Yeah. Because listeners, listener... it's a pun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Listening to a podcast.
How could they leave a 5-star review, Joe?
Go to iTunes or the App Store, the podcast store perhaps. Search How to Survive. Click on, the logo, black and white one. Click on write a review. Leave 5 stars. But the article goes on, Chris.
Okay.
And that will, of course, help us to fall in love with you some more, as if we could love you more. But the article does go on. Listening and validation are important for a good relationship.
Okay.
He revealed, that's Gary Newman, that conversation should not always be about you, but follow-up questions should be asked and responses with compassion. So
basically, like look at your partner in the eyes occasionally,
all
but
the
not
time.
too much. Well, all the time. Okay, fine.
This
all
says
the time,
as much as possible.
Listen to their every word and engage them in conversation.
And follow-up questions should be asked. The same study cites validation as an integral part of falling in love.
Right.
But it doesn't go on to explain what that means. Mr. Newman believes that a person is more likely to fall in love with you if they feel like they're getting it right. So,
if you think we're getting it right, then please leave a 5-star review.
So, if you constantly ask for validation on everything you do, people love that.
Yeah.
People love it if
you stare at them.
Don't break eye contact.
Yeah.
Never break eye contact. And what you want to do is, every time they say something, you want to fawn over them and say, "Oh,
you're so right."
Yeah, is that okay? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? They love that. Smiling is important as it makes you look more attractive, engaging, and more like a winner. Not a loser.
No.
One of these losers. It depends on your smile, though. If you haven't got any teeth, don't smile as much.
Okay.
I suppose you haven't got teeth. You can smile with your mouth closed. The expert said that people who touched each other more were more satisfied by their relationship.
Right. It's really like a fucking Dan Brown novel.
That's what I thought. Yeah. The clever man said...
The clever man touched the nice lady.
Yeah. The expert said that people who touched each other were more satisfied by their relationship, which, it goes without saying.
Yeah. Okay. This is like my dating website advice, but written into an article.
Finally, embracing your partner's passion will help your partner to fall in love with you.
Okay.
Depends what the passion is, doesn't it?
If your passion is how to survive.
Do encourage your partner to join in with the listening. But what's your passion, Chris? What do you consider your passion to be?
My passion is Ben Wheatley's 2011 Hitman horror Kill List, which is the film we're covering next week on episode 63 of How to Survive.
Will your partner be embracing your passion with you?
I would imagine probably not, because my partner would really hate Kill List.
Yeah?
Because it's a terrifying movie. If you haven't seen Kill List, it's definitely worth seeking out. It's a classic, a modern classic, and a great movie, really scary movie.
Yeah.
And it promises to be a really interesting episode.
Yeah, it takes a nice turn, a nice and nasty turn.
Yeah.
But definitely worth checking out. I'm sure it's on some streaming sites. I haven't looked into it, but
I'm sure you can find
2016 for God's sake. Google it.
Yeah,
you idiots.
And it's worth the expense if you can find it on DVD.
And if you've seen it or if you're going to see it by the time we record next, do email us HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com. Or of course you can always reach us day or night 24/7 on Twitter at HowToSurvivePod. And people are always pestering us.
And very welcome pestering.
They're saying, "Joe, stop watching those fucking shit films and do something with your life." And I'm like, come on, mum.
I've told you, Joe, that's not Twitter. That's your mum's. She's been phoning me trying to get in contact with you.
Well, that's her now. So we'll see you next week, front and centre for Kill List.
You and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so let's